now you mentioned in the goodness paradox some early hypotheses about how human beings might have become domesticated, because obviously we domesticated domesticate animals. And there were wild hypotheses like some sort of super race that had domesticated us all and then disappeared. And these were very early speculations. But you have a hypothesis about how this might have come about that doesn't involve such, what would you call, extreme speculation.
Yeah, and it comes originally from Christopher Boehm, who was an anthropologist who went to look at chimpanzees, and he was really struck by the huge difference between humans and chimpanzees in the existence of an alpha male bully. In chimpanzees, you have an alpha male bully who gets what he wants by using his personal physical power. In humans, you don't have that. And we often talk informally about humans having alpha males, but it's not an alpha male in the primate sense, because the human supposed alpha does not get that status or achieve what he wants by using his personal physical power. It's all through coalitions. But in chimps and bonobos and baboons and every other primate, it's not by coalitions. It's by his personal physical ability to defeat everybody else. Now, you sometimes get in humans, in small-scale societies, you sometimes get a man who tries to do that, who tries to, kick sand in the face of every other male and take their wives and take their resources, make them feel small and thoroughly mean to them just by being the bully on the block. And when that happens, there is a consistent solution. Because you have to think about societies in which there's no police, there's no one to help you, you're just on your own in your society, and here is this guy who is being incredibly objectionable and may actually kill other people. But even if he doesn't kill them, he's taking their wives, he's pushing them around. So there's various kinds of social responses. People can try pleading with him to behave better. They can laugh in his face. They can ostracize him. They can ignore him. They can try and move away and exile him just by going away. But none of those mechanisms will work in the face of a really determined despot. So in the end, he gets killed. Now, that's what happens nowadays, and what Christopher...
And weapons would have contributed to that too, I suspect, because it's easier to be a bully when you're huge and everyone else is small and they don't have weapons. But once weapons emerge, the advantage of physical strength is decreased substantially, at least in principle. Is that...
Well, yeah, I mean, weapons play a funny role, and it's almost certain that the kinds of weapons that would be needed for a bully to use them existed long before 300,000 years ago. There are very nicely preserved spears from 400,000.
Right. I'm thinking more about weapons used against the bully.
Well, yes. But animals without weapons can kill others quite safely. Even nowadays, you have descriptions of humans killing without weapons. So how much weapons really mattered is unclear. You can kind of argue it both ways. Okay. But either way, what you see in the present is the argument that is taken back into the past. And I like this argument a lot because I think it is a really tidy explanation for the fact that beginning around 300,000 years ago, we had this reduction in reactive aggression. And there is no other explanation other than a communal effort at executing that can account for the removal of this would-be despot, this bully who uses his physical strength. That's why no other primate has escaped having an alpha male bully. Only humans have converted an alpha male bully into an alliance of males among whom there is a sort of formal level of equality. And if anybody in that alliance tries to throw their weight around, they know what will happen. They will get taken out as the bully originally did.
Right. So you posit in the goodness paradox that there's been enough of that in human societies over the last very long period of time
300,000
to
years.
have markedly decreased the propensity for reactive aggression to such a degree that it's also transformed our morphology and our psychology
Absolutely.
at the biological level, right? Right.
And it probably accelerated over time the loss of reactive aggression, the move towards this domestication-like species that we are now. People sometimes want to suggest that other forces like female choice would have come in, females choosing to mate with the kinder, gentler, more domesticated male. The problem with that is that as long as you had a bully who was capable of exerting his physical force, it wouldn't matter if a female was exerting female choice. She would come along and say, I don't want to mate with you. And he would say, too bad, and punch her chosen male in the face and take her off and mate with her and rape her. And, it's a brutal vision, but this seems to me to conform to what we know about primates and to be the only explanation for how humans escaped what other primates have in terms of alpha males. And there is an obvious reason for what it was that enabled humans to make that escape, and that is language. Because what language enabled the beta males, the coalition of the subordinated males, to do is to make a plan. And now all of a sudden, they could convert their individual tendencies for proactive aggression, which are not enough, into an alliance. And of course, it's very difficult. It's not just simple language, because they've got to be able to work out how to approach someone and suggest this idea, to float the possibility of killing the offender without themselves being exposed to the possibility of being shopped to the offender and themselves being killed. So it's a complicated business. And I say that to emphasize that other species of humans, like Neanderthals, probably had pretty good language themselves. But I think the ancestors of sapiens must have been the ones whose linguistic ability, for whatever reason, got to the point of being so sophisticated that they could dare develop the sort of plan that would enable them consistently to get rid of the supreme bullies.
There was a movie, I unfortunately don't remember its name, but it was released in the 1980s, and maybe one of the viewers of this can supply us with the name. It documented the lives of villagers, a very isolated and archaic Japanese village. And there was a group of villagers, a family of villagers in there that consistently broke the rules and pilfered food. And all of the villagers conspired together as a consequence of that, and in the night crept into their house and killed all of them. It's exactly the scenario you describe. It's an unbelievably striking movie. I saw it in a repertory theater. I'd really like to know the name of it. At the end of it, two men carry their aged parents off to a mountain to abandon them, which is the typical way of dealing with elders in this particular village. And one woman goes voluntarily and the other fights and struggles, and it's a horrific scene. So that's another part of the movie. But I would like to find it, given this conversation, because it's exact representation of the process that you described. It's the only thing I've ever seen like that.